My guest tonight has created an incredible resource for the purpose of helping animals in need with disaster shelter rescues and transports and much more. So please stay tuned for this exciting interview. I am definitely very excited to have Chris Roy on tonight from Doobert. And all you doggies, won't you walk with me? I'm the puppet dog. Hello, everyone. And as I mentioned, I'm here with our guest, Chris Roy from Doobert. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Ann, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to have you here and learn more about this wonderful resource you've created. But first, everyone who's new here, if you want to be updated about weekly episodes and more, we have sometimes non-weekly episodes that pop in too. Just subscribe and hit the bell. And I have found out that over 70% of my listeners, my viewers, I'm sorry, are not subscribed. So, please do that. And also, if you wouldn't mind, please give us a like if you do benefit from the show. We have weekly episodes about animal communication, natural pet care, and interviews with experts in the fields of animal care and advocacy. And our whole purpose here is to give animals a voice. So thank you everyone for being here tonight. So Chris, let's get started. Please tell us, what is Doobert?
Yeah, it's always the first question everybody asks, right? So the best way I could describe Doobert is it's kind of like a volunteer version of Uber and Airbnb for rescue animals. So it's software that's designed to allow people to sign up as a volunteer, and then the rescues and shelters across the country can schedule transports or look for fosters. And so we're trying to facilitate that, right, to help animals to get where they're trying to go. So it's been up for 7 years now, and we've helped transport more than 15,000 animals across the country.
That's so amazing. How did this get started?
They always say it's like you're out to solve your own problem. And that's really what happened in my case. I mean, one of my other passions is aviation. I'm a pilot. And so it's probably back in like 2008, a rescue group that was friends of ours said, "Hey, Chris, would you be willing to fly from Milwaukee, right, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, down to Kentucky and pick up some dogs?" And I'm like, "Let me think about this. Go flying, and I get to play with dogs. Sure, right? Like, why not?"
Right.
And I didn't really know that this was a thing. So, I mean, I flew down there. I had no idea what I was doing, right? The people are like, "Did you bring leashes?" I'm like, "Oh, I was supposed to bring leashes?" Like, I didn't understand. But, I brought these dogs back to Milwaukee and met the rescue. They met me at the airport, and it was the greatest thing. You would have thought I was a celebrity. I mean, I just figured I'd land and hand the dogs off, but no, they were excited. Everybody wanted their picture taken with me. And I was like, this is kind of cool. Like, I could get used to this.
Right.
So for many years, I was just doing that. I was doing rescue transports. And what started to happen is my name started to get shared. And I would get emails from people in Texas or California. They're like, "Can you come pick up these dogs?" I'm like, "People, I live in Wisconsin. I have a day job, so I can only fly on the weekends, right? So no, I can't go on Tuesday from New York to LA. Like, it doesn't work that way." I'm like, there's got to be a system where I can just say, "Here's where I live, here's where I can fly," and that makes it easier for them to find me. And so it didn't exist. So I started down the path to create it. And it was funny because as I got nearer to the end of trying to launch this, somebody said, "Could you make it available to drivers too?" I'm like, "Why do we need this? Like, I don't understand." I really didn't even think about it, but it launched May 23rd of 2014, and I always love to tell people, I mean, we launched with zero volunteers and zero rescues, right? Like the big double zero. But from there, we've now grown to more than 35,000 volunteers and over 5,000 rescue and shelter organizations that we support. So it started out with me solving my own problem to say, quit bugging me on the weekends from California, right? When I only have certain days that I can fly, and it's really grown, and I'm really excited to see what we're able to do and how we're able to help. I mean, I'm a technology guy in my day job, and so now this is just another way that I can apply my passion.
Wow, that's so neat. So just to explain to everyone, Doobert is it's all sort of sheltered, correct me if I'm wrong, on the website. That's where everyone
Yep.
finds
Yeah.
all.
So I mean, if you were, so think of it this way, right? If you were an animal rescue or an animal shelter organization, and you were trying to transport an animal, there's no Amazon Prime for animals, right? There is no way you can just order up a transport. And so there's volunteers all over the place that do this, but it's really difficult to coordinate them. So there's literally hundreds of Facebook groups if you know about them. There's people that still use Yahoo groups if you remember those things from like the late 90s. I mean, very much text based. And so what I wanted to do is provide a much better user experience. So anybody as a volunteer, you can go to Doobert.com, big button says click to sign up, and it's all custom built. So the system will say, sign up just you or your organization. If you sign up you, it'll help you to create your profiles with, do you want to be a transporter? Do you want to be a foster? What days are you available? How far can you go? We validate your phone number, right? So that they can text you and things like that. So it's really designed to make it easier. You don't need me to become a volunteer, right? And that was something that was really important to me is I wanted to make it so that people could manage their own profiles without having to do, a lot of sites will say, oh, send us an email when your profile changes. I don't want to send you an email. I just want to update my own
Right.
profile. So we tried to really make it easy for people to maintain their own profile and get involved how it makes sense to them.
So neat. Um, so now, so do you still do some of the transporting yourself, some of the flying, or are you more based in just trying to make sure the website's working and the.
Yeah, I mean, I will say my flying has gone down. It's really a 7 day a week thing for me because I work a full time day job, Monday through Friday. So I tell people I work a day job so I can afford my nights and weekends job. So I don't get to do as much flying as I'd like. I do have a profile in my own system, right? So when there's a transport that comes nearby, it does notify me, and I'm always looking to get involved if I can. I'm just not able to do as many. That was actually part of the thing when I started thinking about it was, as a pilot myself, I literally transported hundreds of animals, which is great, right? And I'm excited to have been able to be a part of that. But now as the software, as I said, we've supported more than 15,000. So it's so rewarding to be able to make that kind of an impact and to help people to get involved. I mean, there's nothing better than that feeling of being involved with a rescue, right? And doing an animal rescue transport for, I mean, I've said it for years and people tell me I'm crazy. These animals know that something good is happening. Like
Yeah.
they know. They may not know where they're going, they may not know who you are, but they are very appreciative. And I mean, I've never had any problems at all. It's the most rewarding experience there is.
Oh, so yes, I agree, Mel. It's amazing. Just that you put this all together and for people to have the knowledge to find these resources. Um, could you tell us maybe a little bit about a story like that where you just kind of knew an animal? This is the Animal Intuitive Show after all, like where you knew an
Sure.
animal really was like, yay, I'm going somewhere good.
I had so many stories. We could just talk for hours, but I mean, you know, there's a couple of stories really that come to mind. One that I did personally, and then of course others that were done on the platform. So I'm happy to share all of them. There was one that I remember. I met another pilot actually in a Chicago area airport, so it was south of Chicago, and it was a cold day, and we were rescuing a bunch of puppies. And of course, when you start transporting puppies, puppies tend to make a mess. Let's just leave it at that, right? They're little. They're 8 weeks, 10 weeks old.
Yep.
So of course he had two different litters full of puppies, right? Crates full of
Oh,
puppies, and they made a mess. And of course, as puppies are climbing over each other, they're all in it. So we literally had to wash each of the puppies.
wow.
So we had this little kind of conveyor going from one person would go to the plane, get the puppy, bring him in. We were in the airport hangar. They actually had a wash tub, so the line staff that services the airplanes were helping us. So they're like, all right, here, and then we had different people with towels, and then different people putting them in the second plane. And
Oh,
every one of these puppies were just, I don't know, they were so cute. And I'll never forget that there's the mama dog was also one that was transported, which is often the case. And I can picture it like it was yesterday. The other gentleman was walking towards me, and the dog is literally like she's pulling at the leash, pulling, trying to get to me. And so I just kind of kneeled down, and she jumped right up in my arms
Oh.
and just started licking my face. And just, I mean, it was like I'm looking around, like, how do you know it's me, right? Like I could be some random guy. But it
Yeah.
was, they know that you're not a threat. They know you're there to help. They know you're doing good. And like I said, they don't know everything that's going to happen, but
Yeah.
it's such a rewarding experience to know that there's that bond. And
Mhm.
I like I said, I can picture it like it was yesterday, and doing the conveyor of puppies, and the mama
Mm.
dog just really saying thank you for
Yeah.
what I was doing. And that really, just left a mark on me. Like this is why I do this. Like this is
Yeah.
why I want to help, and I want to share and get everybody else involved in doing this. There was another one that was another just amazing. There were these two wolf pups that
Oh,
were
really?
going from, they had been saved, if you will, from Ohio. They believe that the mother was probably a German Shepherd, and the father was a wolf.
Oh.
And you cannot, because they are so much wolf, you cannot adopt them out. Like the
Okay.
two choices were to destroy them or to get them to a sanctuary. And so they were going to a sanctuary in way upstate Minnesota. And I was lucky enough, so I got to fly down to Illinois, pick the animals up, but then I got to keep them overnight. So there were these two wolf
Oh,
pups,
wow.
probably about 12 weeks.
Oh.
So, you know, and so I got to play with them in the backyard.
Oh my
They were
gosh.
amazing. They were, of course, play fighting with each other and tackling. And I remember because it was fall, and they just, there's something just so powerful about watching these wild animals
Yeah.
run. Like it's like nothing you've ever seen. And
Wow.
their instincts, and they followed me, right? Like apparently I was their dad type of a thing.
Oh.
But it was really cool again to know that I was able to be a part of this, experience this, and yet also get them to a place where I knew they would be safe,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the joy of this is I can't personally foster and adopt out every animal as much as I'd like to. If it's up to me, I'd have like hundreds of acres, right, and lots of animals. But um, just to be able to be a part of their lives for that one moment and know that I'm getting them, physically transporting them hundreds of miles along this journey, this rescue relay journey,
That's
to
incredible.
a place that are going to be safe, and know that there's other people. I mean, when you meet the other transporters at either the pickup or drop off, I mean, it's it's this bond, right, with
Mhm.
people you've never met, but you're both in it because you care that much about the animals that
Mhm.
you're donating your time and your resources to try and help them.
Yeah, it's so neat. I had the opportunity to do that like once. I had a dog that came here overnight. It was like a relay like that. Like a
Hmm.
I forget who that was through. I can't do it now with my current dog, but or one of my current dogs, but it was neat. It really is an experience to be able to do that, even just for a night, to be a part of that like chain to
Yeah.
get them. Oh, um, so yes, I was gonna say he must. Mel Mac is saying you must have felt. They must. You probably mean, because she wrote you must have been felt trustworthy. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
they must have felt you were trustworthy. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, I mean, it is. It's, I told people over the years, I said, one of my requirements is I want a picture of every animal, right? That with
Cool.
me that I save. And so that kind of became my thing of just taking a picture. So,
Right.
there's pictures of me holding puppies and other dogs. And I got to transport a bat once. That was,
Oh,
I
really?
mean, cool. I mean, I didn't get to play with him. I mean, he was in a crate, but it was just kind of, because people will say, oh, it's just dogs. I'm like, well, actually not. I mean, through the Doobert platform, dogs, cats, rabbits, birds,
Oh, cool.
it's,
Okay.
you name it, there's a need for all types of animals. And so to me, it's just software that helps to connect people
Yeah.
to do the hard work, right? Which is the
Right.
physical transport, physical safe transport of animals to get them to where they got to go.
Amazing. And speaking of which,
You've got some photos.
yes, I do. Let's see. Who are these guys? What's the story here?
Yeah, that was one of my first rescues.
Oh.
Those were, I believe, those were the ones that I rescued actually from Kentucky. So it might have even been my very first rescue that I had done. And there was actually, I think there was three dogs and then a crate full of puppies. And I've got the one there that's on the left, the darker dog. I actually have a great photo of him where he kind of perched up over the back of the seat and was just looking out the window. I mean, we were at,
Mm.
probably about 4,000 feet, but he's looking out, just kind of looking down. And I just always wanted to know, like, what was going through his mind? What was he thinking? It's not a perspective that dogs get very often.
Right.
So, yeah, it was just kind of a cool thing. But they were great. I mean, they're all of these dogs. I mean, they're a little stressed, right? Because they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of like they know you're there to help them, and then they
Right.
usually calm down. People say they'll ask me all the time, like, "What do they do?" I'm like, most of the time they just go to sleep. They curl up and take a nap. Once I fire up the engine and we get going, there's nothing much for them to do except maybe look out the window. But they generally just kind of go ahead and take a nap for a while.
Yeah. Okay. I know, right, Mel? Oh, your comment got hidden there, but yes, they look so happy. They look so probably knowing that they're. Oh my gosh! Look at
Yeah,
this one. Oh my gosh.
yeah. That was another one. A couple of cratefuls of puppies. You can see there's snow on the ground. It was cold, so that's it. The other cool thing is I know, like, a lot of times the animals are coming from the south, so Mississippi, Alabama, some other places like that. And so I get to watch them for the first time. Some of these animals had never seen snow,
Uh
right?
huh.
So you kind of put them down and they're like, why are my paws so cold, right? And then pretty quickly, particularly the puppies, right, they kind of start jumping around. And next thing you know, they're tackling each other and rolling around and they're all covered in snow and just,
Oh,
and just having a good time. But yeah, they're all so sweet.
loving it. I'm sure. Oh, so cute.
Yep.
Okay, and who's? Oh, that's you flying. I take it.
Yep, that's me flying, and the dog in the back. I don't remember the dog's name, but yeah, oftentimes they just kind of sit there and look at you like, "Hey."
That look.
That's what I was doing with the selfie, right? Trying to make sure I'm flying and grabbing a picture of the dog as well.
He looks like he's co-piloting. He looks
Yeah, he does.
involved. Like you, he's like, all right. I hope he's doing this right. He's got that look in his.
Yep.
It's so cool. Um, okay, so let's. Who's next? Oh, wait, is that the same one? Let's see. That's the same one there. What is that?
There you go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yep. I remember that little dog. So I was taking her down actually from Wisconsin down to Indiana to meet up with somebody else. So she was another one I was flying. You can't really see because of the glare, but we were literally flying right along the lakeshore,
Okay.
right past downtown Chicago. And so she was kind of perched up there on the window, just kind of looking out, seeing what was going on outside. So
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. This must be so much fun. How did you get into flying? Just out of curiosity. I know it's not really necessarily having to do with what we're talking about, but I gotta
yeah,
ask.
yeah. So I'm one of those people. So I was driving past, so going if you drive from Milwaukee to Chicago, there's an airport like literally right next to the highway, and there was a big sign that said "Learn to fly here." It had a number, and so one day I just
Oh my
called and said,
gosh.
"Yes, I want to learn to fly," and I actually started in gliders. And so gliders is, basically an airplane without an engine. You get towed up with a rope, and then they call it soaring, and you're literally riding the warm air currents to stay up, because you don't have an engine. There's no power, there's no fuel, there's no nothing. And
Okay.
that's where I learned to fly. And then from there, I wanted to get into powered flight, and it's just became in this passion of mine. And to be able to combine the animal rescue with that was just
Yeah.
it was just
Mm-hmm.
perfect.
That's so neat. I've always thought I would like to learn to fly. I like being up in the air in air. I feel very comfortable up there. Like I
Yeah.
like flying. I feel really peaceful up in the
Yeah, and there's something about being the one in control. It's very, very different than when you're
uh
flying in a jet, right?
see that. Yeah.
There's a lot more challenge. I mean, people don't realize there's about 3,000 general aviation airports in the U.S. And they 3,000. I mean, when you think about it, you could probably name what 20 airports, right? But
Right.
there's literally that many. They're all over the place. And one of the best parts of doing the animal rescue is you get to try out all sorts of different airports. So it's a challenge, right? You're flying into different airports you haven't been to before, and you meet lots of great
Yeah.
people. It's always like an event at the airport, right? When people go, "What are you doing? You're rescuing dogs," and then they get involved, and so it's
Right.
fun.
Definitely. I actually grew up on Aviation Road.
Nice.
Yeah. um, so I have a question, and I was actually going to ask you this too. Have
Hmm.
you adopted any that you couldn't resist?
No, see, that was the rule that I made with my wife, right? I was not allowed to adopt any. I wanted to adopt them all because I would literally take my phone, I'd text her a picture and be like, "But Mona wants to come home." And she's like, "No, we have 4 cats and 2 dogs, no more." So that was kind of my she allowed me to do the transports probably just to keep me from wanting to adopt more, but
You're
no,
right.
I didn't end up ever adopting them. But I mean, I did try to follow up, with the rescues. I mean, pretty much every single one of those animals got adopted. I mean, they're all
Oh,
just I think they're all so amazing and so special.
oh, that's so great. Trying to put us back here. Wait a minute. Put us back in the. And we have another question here.
Sure.
Wait, that's nothing. Hold on. We've lost us. Wait.
The secret person.
Oh no. Now we have, yes, this is our, you're right. This is our mystery guest over here.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so we have a question also. Do you have to do any special prep to prepare the
Sure.
dogs to be calm?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I'll tell you, like when you're driving, we always tell people put on some nice calm music. If you can find a classical music station, right? Dogs tend to like that.
Uh-huh.
There are some things they call them composure treats
Mhm.
that are it's they help to calm the animals. I mean, when I'm doing the flights, generally I tell people you can't feed the animals, right? Give them water, but I've had enough of them puke in crates and do all sorts of other things that I don't need that. When
Uh-huh.
I'm doing the flights, most of the time, like I said, they're kind of nervous, but then once you get them in the plane, they're more comfortable, right? Because it's enclosed. And then, as I said, once I fire up the engine, they generally just take a nap.
Mhm.
I've done the transports via ground because sometimes I've done those as well. It's generally, put on some nice music, give them a composure treat, or just talk to them. I mean, I think it has a real calming. It calms me for sure.
Uh-huh.
So I just have a little calm discussion with them. I mean, there was one transfer I remember again, a mom and some puppies, and she was a nursing mom. So I mean,
Oh
but
wow.
once we got going, she actually climbed out of the back seat into the front seat and literally laid like right down in front of me, and
Oh my gosh.
she just fell into this deep sleep.
Oh my gosh. Wait, while
It
you were
was so
flying?
what's that?
While you were flying?
No, my friend was driving, so this was
Oh,
a
okay.
ground transport. Yeah, not while I was flying. No, that would not work so well. But yeah, when I got to be a passenger, and so my friend was driving the dog, literally, I kept going, no, 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 stay in the back. And she
Oh.
would not stop and crawled in the front, crawled on me, and then literally just laid herself. So she was all the way down. And I mean, literally, you know how when they fall asleep, they just kind of sink.
Yeah.
So like he literally just sunk into me, and it was just such a
Oh.
rewarding experience.
She was probably get me away from these puppies for a minute. This is my last chance to get a
Yeah,
break.
that's really right. She's because they were, when they see her, we had to, keep them in the back because when they see her, they would cry, and that would make her milk go,
Yeah.
and so of course it's like you said, she was probably thinking, "Can I just have a break for a little
Right. Can
bit?
you hang out
You
with
take
you for
care
a
of
minute?
these."
Um, so cool. Let me see here. So uh I was gonna ask you something about I keep forgetting my questions because this is so interesting. On the website,
Mhm.
is there any requirement as far as like the organizations that come on your website? Can any
Yeah. Sure.
rescue or anything?
Great. Yeah, great question. I mean, so one of the things that I wanted to make sure I did when building this is that we were only dealing with legitimate rescues and shelters. there are sites out there that anybody can sign up and they can pretend, right? Oh yeah, we're a shelter. So I actually pay people to research and check every single organization, and that was something that's important to me. We actually recheck them annually because, particularly with rescue groups, it's a virtual organization and they can change hands and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't require organizations to be a 501c3. We do have a small, short application. And like I said, we do research. So they have to be a legitimate organization, right? So we make them give references and we check every reference. And we're checking with other organizations in their area to see if they heard of them. And,
Okay.
because I feel that it's important that we keep this safe.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I want to do is turn away volunteers or frustrate volunteers because they're dealing with a rescue that's not a legitimate rescue.
Yeah.
You'd probably be surprised as to the number. So one of the
Mm-hmm.
things I can see on the back end, right, is people that like organizations that would start the application and then never finish. And generally, the ones that do that, I can tell they're just people. Um,
Uh-huh.
and what we've found over the years is that because there really aren't any, there are transport services, commercial, but people don't want to pay, right? So they want a free way to do it. So they end up on Doobert and they see, oh, it's free transport. And then they think, oh, I'll get my dog transported for free. I'll just lie and say I'm a rescue. And then
Oh,
they get
wow.
into the application and they realize that no, they're actually going to check and make sure.
Yeah.
So I get to go in and just delete those out, right? Because I know they're not legit.
Yeah.
It's I mean, I understand. I mean, it's hard. Everybody, there's a lot of valid reasons that people need to transport their pets,
Mhm.
but that's not currently what we're designed to do. We're trying to help the rescue animals that don't have a way to get where they're going.
Right. Yeah. Um, so, and how many organizations did you say you have on there? Yeah.
So we've over the years, over 5,000 organizations have signed up on Doobert, which is really awesome. I'm averaging right now about between 10 and 20 a week still.
Oh.
That there's a lot of in the US, there's 4,800 brick and mortar shelters, like so physical building shelters across the country.
Mhm.
And by my estimates, there's about 20 to 25,000 rescue groups. So there's a lot of different types of organizations, some that are physical buildings, right? But then the more virtual ones, because rescues come in all shapes and sizes. Some,
Mhm.
do very breed specific. Some do, I know of rescues that are fluffy dog rescues, right? So they only rescue the fluffy dogs. Um, there are some that focus on condition, so blind dog rescues,
Mhm.
deaf dog rescues. There are all sorts of different types of organization, wildlife organizations. There's birds, there's snakes, there's rats, there's all those things like that that we're happy to support, right? Whatever the need is for those types of organizations. So yeah, we've had a lot of them over the years that have signed up, and I mean, the one that I think is we've had a rat rescue. I
Really?
Yeah, and
Cool.
I don't, as I always say, I don't judge, right? I don't know, I guess that I would want to rescue a rat myself, but it's probably because I don't know enough about them.
Mhm.
That I got a bad rep. We've had reptile rescues, as I said, rabbits and birds. So it's just kind of interesting.
Definitely. You're coming into contact with so many different types of animals. It's so neat. Um, I might not want to do the snake one, but
Right?
other ones,
Yeah, it's
my
you know,
husband
it's,
would love
it's one of
that.
those things. I guess until you try it,
Yeah.
I don't know, right? Like I didn't think I would ever do a bat rescue. I mean,
Yeah.
it seemed because people have their opinions, and I go, why would you rescue a bat? Like there's so many of them, but
Yeah,
to me, every one of them is a living sentient being, and
definitely.
why wouldn't I? Is kind of the way I look at it. Is why would I say no? Like, oh, it's just another bat. Like, doesn't
Yep.
it deserve a right to live? I mean,
Yeah.
so
Sure. Yeah. You can have respect for all of them, maybe not want to handle them, but have respect for
right,
all of them. Yep,
yep.
definitely. My husband desperately wants a snake, but I'm kind
But you said no.
of I respect them just like you said, they're sentient beings. But I also don't know how I don't having something in a cage in my home. You know, I don't know how I feel about that. But anyway, so you people are wanting to know more about you. They want to know how many animals you have. You're a fascinating person. People are
Oh,
like very
that's
curious
great.
about you.
Oh, God.
And,
So currently five cats, right? So no dogs. I'm negotiating to try and get some dogs, but it's a negotiation.
oh, okay.
But yeah, down to five cats right now. It's yeah, that's what we got right now.
um, okay, and there are some suggestions. Yes, lavender oil,
Sure.
geranium, definitely to calm for
Yes,
calming.
good
Yeah, the
idea.
smells, yeah.
Yeah, like a
Um,
lavender diffuser or something like that is a great idea.
yeah. Um, and I don't know what the deal is with flying, but they have the plugins for the cars you could do, but
Hmm.
um so uh okay. Um so any I'm curious, have there been any volunteer stories that are, and not to put you on
Yeah.
the spot. It's okay if you
Of
don't, but
course.
curious
Hey,
if there
like I
has
said,
any.
I love this. This is what I love doing. I mean, so I'll tell you my absolute favorite story, and it's one of those where it's just always interesting how these things happen. There was a an albino English Shepherd dog, right? So albino meaning
Mhm.
white. He came from a breeder. The breeder took him to the shelter and dropped him off. Come to find out, primarily because albino is one of those
Oh.
recessive traits, and apparently oftentimes when it rears itself, or whatever the word I'm looking for, the animals are deaf. So this was a deaf,
Mhm.
purebred English setter dog that was albino, and so the breeder's like, he's pretty much useless to me, so he just took him to the shelter and dumped him. And the shelter was moving him, I think they were going from, I think it was Louisiana, up to Michigan. And so they posted the transport on Doobert, and they posted a picture of the dog, but they didn't give the dog a name. So the volunteers actually all named the dog Doobert. And
Oh.
so, yeah, because, the emails all came. So I said, well, he doesn't have a name. Well, we'll just call him Doobert. So it was, called Doobert the
Oh.
dog. So Doobert the dog was transported up to Michigan, and then was ultimately adopted out to a couple that I think moved to New Jersey or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But somehow they applied to have Doobert the dog be on the Puppy Bowl, right? So, during the Super Bowl,
Oh,
the
yeah,
Animal
yeah.
Planet has the Puppy Bowl. And
Uh-huh.
so this was a few years ago. And so Doobert the dog, who is deaf, was in the Puppy Bowl.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember watching the Puppy Bowl sitting on the couch by myself, no less, right? And every time the announcer would say, and Dubert gets the ball, I was cheering, like,
Oh.
yay, Dubert. People are like, did you see a big uptick on the website? I'm like, nope, didn't see an uptick on the website, didn't see it.
Oh.
Uh, just a wonderful story that the volunteers named him Dubert.
Yeah.
And it, it's just warmed my heart to hear that people, at least people who were watching are probably like, what's a Dubert, right? I don't know
Exactly right. Yeah.
about it. It was a
It,
good way to
yeah.
make them on Super Bowl Sunday anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's every year either, but I know the Puppy Bowl was shot
Yeah,
also in my hometown of Glens Falls, New York last year, the Puppy
there you
Bowl.
go.
I was
Yeah,
very proud to see. I was like, wow, the Puppy Bowl. That's
yeah.
pretty
Generally, I
amazing.
think they've done it every year, like you said. I think it's pretty much every year, and they obviously end up adopting the animals out, so it's really cool.
Yeah, that's definitely really cool. So maybe Dubert's been to my hometown in
There you
upstate New
go.
York. I don't
Never
know,
know,
but
right? It's a small world.
very cool. Yep, yeah, definitely some good suggestions about calming things, pillows and stuff like that. Putting essential
Mm.
oils on pillows and things.
Yeah, I have a transport kit, right, for cleanup stuff, and like somebody mentioned the lavender stuff and composure treats, and just things like that that make sure that you always have a transport kit, extra leashes, and lots and lots of puppy pads because they tend to make a mess of those things.
Do you have like any sort of involvement from stores or anybody like that that helps to support the organization, or do you really need that because they're more like
Yeah.
individuals or
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, it's something, as the platform has grown, I'm trying to find a way to monetize it, right? To keep it, just to
yeah.
pay the cost, right? To keep it
Hmm.
going. And so I'm trying to figure out how to do that, and how to,
Okay.
get a business involved that maybe wants to donate supplies for volunteers and things like that. So it's something that's on my list. It's hard, right? Because I only have a limited amount of time to spend on it. And
Right.
um, people often think software is easy, and they think, oh, it's a website. Well, it's much more than a website. I mean, I've got
Hmm.
professional developers that are writing the code, and I mean, we've got a lot of
Mm.
integrations, as I mentioned. You can get text messages, and we're in the process of rebuilding the Doobert mobile app right now because that's outdated. And it's like there's always
Yeah.
something. It's much more than just a simple website that
Yeah.
allows for people to register and things like that. So it's grown, and we've added on more and more features and more tools that the rescues and shelters and the volunteers need to do their job more efficiently. And that's
Mhm.
that's the goal. Is I mean, you'll see the tagline says helping you help animals. I mean, that's my goal. Is it's to help you with the tools, right? So that as a volunteer, I didn't know. I mean, who do you talk to? How do you get involved with a rescue or shelter? So I wanted to make it easy for people to sign up, make their profiles, and then let the rescues and shelters find them.
Yeah, and I think it's great that it's like a one-stop shop too, because they can see, you know, the choices are there. They can
Right.
see what's out there and what really fits with them. It sounds like, because like
Yeah,
you
that's
said,
the
like a
idea. You
Match.com.
choose how you want to be involved. Everything is opt-in. So
Mm-hmm.
if you said, listen, I don't want to do transport, but I'm willing to do foster. Maybe I don't want to do that, but I'm a virtual volunteer because I mean, there's all sorts of needs for volunteers. I mean, you can be helping them with social media or reviewing adoption applications. I mean, you don't have to be physically standing next to somebody in order to help. So we've had all sorts of different profiles that people can do. They can turn them on or off, right? So if your situation changes, there's a lot more people that like to transport in the summer than in the winter for some
Mm-hmm.
odd reason. Um, but yeah, there's always a need, and we've got some people that literally they do a transport once a week. We've got some people that do it probably once every other month.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite is that every once in a while I'll get somebody that'll complain, and I'm like, so I had one lady complain. She said, I want to know who this guy is. She gave me like his first name and last initial because we don't display, your full name and things like that. Because she was upset because he always signs up for the transport leg before she can. So the system, sends out the notification based upon
Oh.
where you are, and he gets to it first, and he signs up for the legs. And she's like, I've been waiting for it, and I was ready to sign up. He needs to give me a chance. I'm like, I'm sorry, but I don't know what to do.
He
So
needs a faster speed, whatever.
yeah, he responds to it faster and clicks on the email, goes out to the site
Modem
and
or
signs
whatever.
up
I
for the
don't know.
leg. Yeah.
um, very cool. It sounds like you have a lot of people who are very invested in it, and it's great that you have options too. Like you said, like it's not just the physically being there to do the transport or watch the
Right.
animals. That there's roles for people who can't do that stuff. Like the paperwork, reviewing the applications. That's kind of a neat thing for
Mhm.
people to do that can't have an animal in their home or get involved that way. That's a cool thing. And you have a blog, right? And you have a radio show too, and a YouTube channel. So tell us more. Like,
Do a couple of different things. Yeah, I mean, so I've done podcasts for years. I started with the Animal Professionals podcast, and then we were doing the Animal Shelter of the Week, the Animal Rescue of the Week, and then an Animal
cool.
Trainers podcast. So at one point, we had 4 podcasts a week, which is a lot.
Oh my god.
And then last year, I decided I wanted to try something different. I wanted to um, bring this idea of innovations that are helping animals. So I started the Animal Innovation Show. And so it runs on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's kind of like the start of our cadence. We stream live every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. And then we have curated versions of that get published onto Instagram TV and LinkedIn and gets edited into a podcast. And the idea is that there's so many things that people are doing that are helping animals, whether it be a product or a service or just a program that they're doing. I have to admit, I'm so amazed as to the things that people are doing, the things that people are helping. And they help animals in so many different ways, and they're helping
Mm-hmm.
people in so many different ways. And so that's where it's been great. So now it's twice a week. So it's a lot to keep up with. But again, it's one of those things where I'm excited to interview them and to share their story and to help them however I can.
Yeah.
Even if it's just to spread the word about what it
Mm-hmm.
is that they're doing. So we've had, all sorts of different pet products on there that help. We've had, I mean, different services, and I mean, it's just amazing to me the things that people are coming up with. Everything from apps to physical products to, there seems to be a trend with a lot more restaurants that are opening that are dog friendly, and so they've got like the
Oh,
dog area and the people area, and it's just, I don't know, I love doing those interviews because it's so interesting to me to learn,
yeah.
and that's
Hmm.
all it takes is I'm like, who are you and how are you innovating and helping animals? That's really the question I ask, and from there it's we kind of see where it goes, and talk about what they're doing.
That's wonderful. Did you grow up with animals? It sounds like you have a.
So we had a dog, growing up, and but I can't say it was anything that was, I guess, memorable. My mother didn't like cats, so we weren't allowed to have cats. So we would, play with the other, neighborhood kids that had cats, or play in the, occasionally. I'm trying to think as I got older, there were some outdoor cats. But normal family with a dog, right? Play with the dog, take the dog on walks, and play in the snow and things like that. And even my mother would tell you, she's like, I never knew you had such a bond with animals. She's
Mm,
like, when you were a kid, you weren't it wasn't like you were that close to the animals, right? It wasn't your thing. And I told her, I said, I don't know. Like, I went to high school and college, and I kind of got into this, and now I'm obsessed, right? Like, it's
right.
just my thing. And it's just they're so amazing. And the more that I do, the more that I want to help. And you learn. I started to expand. I mean, I've had interviews with people in different countries and things like that, and you just learn about the plight of animals globally and all
Mm-hmm.
different types of things. And yet there's in every single country around the world. I mean, people don't have all the same resources we do in the US, but there's still so many people that are doing whatever they can to help animals. And that's my goal, is to keep growing Doobert, to take it internationally. If it can help, if the software or technology in any way can help them be more efficient to save more animals, then that's what I want to do. And I view this as I bring my technology skills to try and make that side of it easier for people. So
Yeah, I do find that they often pick us. Something goes on there spiritually, right? Um, yeah, I was going to ask that. Are you moving into the international
yeah, it's starting to. I mean, one of the
realm?
things I'm really learning is in the U.S., companion animal rescue, so dogs and cats, is very different than it is in other countries. Just the challenges. I'll give you an example. In India, they it's an estimate because you can't really count. They estimate that there's 30 to 35 million stray dogs, right? So you think their biggest challenge is not even transporting animals. I mean, they're literally dogs roaming the streets. And I was really inspired. I interviewed a gentleman a couple of years ago that started a program to bring fresh water to street dogs.
Mm,
And
that's
it
great.
just
Yeah,
seems like something so basic.
right.
But in India, so they came out with these containers, and so that's part of their thing. They get people to take the containers, and then they're filling them with water, water bowls for the dogs. But they're saying you can't use this for anything else. You can't put gasoline in it one day and water it in the next day.
Hmm.
And then there were other people that developed a collar that had a QR code, and so they could keep track of who fed which dog and which dog is this. And it's like you just start
Well,
thinking of the interesting ways that people are using
right.
technology. So I've had a number of different calls with people and trying to figure out, like, all right, what can I develop? How can I bring this? I'm very sensitive to. I don't want to be trying to go to another country and say, here's how you need to do it, right? Like, we know best. We're the experts, because we're not.
Mhm.
And I believe that anybody that wants to help animals, it's very different in every country as to how the animals are treated, how the processes work, how the laws work. The challenges are just so different.
Yeah.
But I do think bringing technology to help sort through that, or to help organize that, or even to help share their story with pictures and videos and things like that,
Mm,
that's where I think
hmm.
technology can really play a part.
Hmm.
So I'm excited. Doobert works. It's configured to work in the U.S., Canada, Australia, and India right now.
Okay.
So hopefully we'll find some other organizations in other countries that want to bring it to their country. More than happy to do it.
Very interesting. I'm not sure what if there's a connection there, but I did interview Dr. Badra on here. I want to say that's her last name. I'm terrible whenever if you ever watch this show, when I try to recall anything outside of what I'm talking about while I'm on the episode I'm on, it's like I go like brain numb. I don't know, but brain dead. But she was on here on my show, and she does studies on stray dogs in India, um, street dogs,
Sure.
and so I don't know. There's some kind of connection there. She's in my
Yeah.
history, in my past episodes,
Yeah.
um, that's interesting, and I could definitely see how it could. I wonder about missing animals, if somehow this could expand into that. That's what I'm wondering
Yeah.
about. Like, just if you could become a network for lost and missing animals.
Yep. Yeah. And that's another area of this that's really hard, that animals escape, right? And then they end up in a shelter, and if they don't have a microchip or a tag,
Yeah,
they can't get a hold of the owners, and then they're just a part of they go into the system, so to speak.
yeah,
So yeah, anything, I'm always open for new ideas, and I'm always trying to push the envelope as to how we can help.
yeah. Definitely, I could see it because it seems very central. It's a centralized location, and you've got so many different. It's like you've already got the infrastructure. It almost seems like in so many different organizations. So I could see it. I could see it.
Yeah, for sure.
um, yeah, and that's such a passion of mine because I deal with people frequently who are missing animals, and it's so heartbreaking.
Oh, that is the hardest thing. They're like family members, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you have a bond, and they're scared, and how can you help guide them home? How do you find them? I mean, uh, you know, cats go missing, dogs go missing. I mean,
yeah,
it's really hard.
yeah. It's just heartbreaking. It really is. So, well, this is amazing. Is there? I'm wondering if there's anything that I have forgotten or haven't asked you about that is important.
I don't think so. I mean, I always tell people, I say, I love, please share or tell other people. I don't spend any money on marketing because I don't have any money to spend on marketing. You know, any money that I get in either through donations or anything like that goes right back to the software to keep it going, and to keep enhancing. I mean, things break, and just like anything else.
Right.
So certainly we always need more volunteers. I always appreciate it when people share with their, somebody they know. I always call it 2 degrees of separation. If you remember the whole Kevin Bacon 6 degrees of, I always say two
Mhm.
degrees of separation. Everybody I know knows somebody that does animal rescue or knows somebody that's rescued an animal. It's a very close, knit community.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
let them know. I mean, I think every week, as I mentioned, we have between 10 and 20 new organizations that signed up that clearly had never heard of us, right? Until somebody told them.
Right.
So it's free. We're not charging them for doing rescues and transports and stuff like that. We're trying to help them. So anything that people can do, sign up. Certainly be a volunteer. I welcome more volunteers, and yeah, that would be great. So I think
That's
you've covered
wonderful.
everything, though.
Wonderful. And it's Doobert.com, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. Just go
Eh,
to Doobert.com, and you can read the story about Doobert. Doobert was a cat. He was a rescue cat of mine, so you can read the story about Doobert on the website there. So it's in his honor. He was a orange and white tabby, and as I always tell people, Doobert was not the smartest cat, but he was an old soul, and he just loved everyone that he met, and just was. I mean, I have no other way to describe it. He was just a very loving cat,
oh,
and when we had to let him go on to the Rainbow Bridge, I knew there was no better way than to let his legacy live on. So
yeah. What an amazing legacy. Ah, wonderful. You really are like a blessing to so many, so many. I mean, really, what you've done here is incredible. And please be sure to share this. Anybody who watches this, um, obviously, it's easy to understand how this can benefit so many animals and people and organizations. So please do share. Um, so I will definitely be doing that, and I appreciate you being here today. And also, your website is also, or your shows, are they linked on there on Doobert.com?
yes, yep. So
Oh,
if you go on there, you can get to the Animal Innovation Show as well.
Okay. And that includes like the YouTube, the everything. Okay. Great.
Absolutely.
Okay. Wonderful. Wanted to make sure. Okay. So everybody, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm sorry if I missed anyone's questions, but if you have any questions and you're watching the replay, please put them in the comments, and we'll try to get those answered for you. But also go to the Doobert Show, and you can watch there too, and go to doobert.com. And thank you so much, everybody, and God bless.
Bye.